Hello scholars, my name is Dr. Kara Stillen, and the goal of this channel is to make academic subjects easier to understand. In the last video, part 1 of supply and demand, we discussed the core ideas of the law of supply and the law of demand. In this video, we're going to discuss the factors of production and much more. In the final section of part 1, we had just discussed what factors will switch a demand curve to the left. Essentially, a supply curve will shift to the right or to the left if factors affect the quantity supplied. When a supply curve shifts, this means that the quantity supplied by a supplier moves to the left or to the right. This is called a shift in supply. One of the factors that impacts supply is profit, and that means the difference between revenues and costs. The factors of production inputs are understood as combinations of labor, materials, and machinery. If a firm is able to produce a product at a lower cost and the prices remain the same, the firm's profits will go up. A firm will tend to push harder to produce more when it's earning more profit. This can shift the supply curve to the right. The cost of production can definitely impact the quantity of supply. If the prices of goods used to produce other goods decrease or increase, this can shift the supply curve to the left or to the right. Other factors can influence the cost of production, such as the weather, government regulations, or advances in technology. The field of agriculture is especially impacted by the weather and natural disasters. Technology can impact how much of a product is produced or whether or not it's safe for the environment. The government can also play a role in supply by its taxes, subsidies, providing patents and copyrights, as well as laws or regulations. Factors that can change the supply curve to the right are favorable natural conditions for production, a fall in input prices, improved technology, and lower product taxes or less costly regulations. Items that can shift the supply curve to the left are poor natural conditions for production, a rise in input prices, a decline in technology, and higher product taxes, essentially more costly regulations. Supply and demand can be impacted by the government when consumers start to complain to politicians. This can be the case with some medications. Price controls are laws and regulations by the government on prices of products or services. A price ceiling is a regulation that holds a price from going too high. A price floor is a regulation that keeps prices from going too low. One possible way that economists define efficiency is when it's impossible to improve the situation of one party without imposing a cost on another. If a situation is inefficient, it becomes possible to benefit at least one party without imposing costs on another. Consumer surplus is the amount of income consumers would be willing to pay minus the amount they would actually pay. It is the area above the market price but below the demand curve. Producer surplus is the extra benefit producers get from selling a good or service measured by the price the producer actually received minus the price the producer would have been willing to accept. Social surplus, also called the total surplus, is the sum of the consumer surplus and producer surplus. Sometimes economists will talk about a price floor and a price ceiling. These will prevent the market from adjusting to its equilibrium price and quantity, therefore creating inefficiency. Price ceilings and price floors often push over consumer surplus to producers, and this doesn't make them too happy. As an example, if a pharmaceutical company creates a new drug and plans to sell it for $600 for a 30-day supply, maybe 20,000 people will buy it. And therefore, the drug company goes ahead and makes 20,000 units. Now let's say the government comes in and tells the pharmaceutical company that they can only sell this drug for $400 for a 30-day supply. The company probably isn't going to be very happy and essentially wants to make more of a profit, so it may choose to only produce 15,000 units a year instead of the 20,000 units that it was going to attempt to sell. Companies still can decide how much of a product they want to make. But as you can see, with government regulations come changes by the companies that make those products. Essentially, we see this as an inefficient outcome. This is a loss of social surplus and is inefficient. Economists call this inefficiency deadweight loss. Okay, we have come to the end of our video, but before we finish, let's try 5 questions to see how well you've learned some of the material from Part 1 and Part 2. Question 1. This is considered the amount of money per unit for a good or service. Is this A, equilibrium, B, demand, C, supply, or D, price? The answer is price. Question 2. This is considered the average amount of a good or service that a supplier is willing to supply at each price. Is it A, demand, B, supply, C, equilibrium price, or D, equilibrium? The answer is supply. Question 3. Which of the following factors would not shift a demand curve to the right? A, the price of a substitute product rises. B, the price of a complement product falls. C, the overall incomes of individuals decline. Or D, there is an increase in popularity of the product. Answer is C, the overall incomes of individuals decline. Question 4. Which of the following factors would not shift a demand curve to the left? A, the price of the complement product decreases. B, the price of the substitute product falls. C, the expectations for the product fall. Or D, income drops for many different individuals. Answer is A, the price of the complement product decreases. Question 5. True or false? Price ceilings and price floors often create inefficient outcomes. Answer is true. So I want to provide an explanation for question 3 because some people might have an issue with it. Remember when we switched the demand curve, when it shifts to the right, that's because something has happened where we have a whole new ability of people demanding that product. So in the questions or in the choices, one of them was if the price of a substitute falls, people will want to buy more of that substitute. So if you consider maybe you have different kinds of almond milk and you go back and forth between, more of a brand, like a non-generic brand, and then you have a generic brand. Well, if that generic brand gets even cheaper, people are going to want to buy that even cheaper product. So that will increase the demand. And remember, the question asks which one does not shift it to the right. So the second one is the price of a complement falls. So a complement is a product that goes along with something like cereal and milk. So if the price falls of, let's say, milk, people will want to buy more cereal along with that because they'll want to buy or demand more milk. So that would also shift that demand curve to the right and not to the left. And we're looking for which one does not shift it to the right. So the C is income declines. So we know that as income declines, we can buy less of things or less of items. So our demand isn't going to shift to the right because we want more. It's going to shift to the left. So that would be our answer. The last one is increase in popularity. Of course, if something becomes more popular, more people demand it, that would shift it to the right. Okay, so that is the end of the video. If you like the video, don't forget to click that like button and make sure you subscribe. I am trying to pump these videos out as quickly as possible. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk with you soon.